What's up, my friends? Welcome to this live stream, episode number 35 of the Health Breakdown. Excited to be here with you today, my friends, and have some awesome videos here for you. Again, just trying to optimize our health naturally, trying to maximize our longevity in the most natural and holistic way possible. So, my friends, without further ado, let's get right into it. I think we'll start here today, my friends.
Yeah. Grounding is just so amazing. I mean, you go out into nature, you take off your shoes, or you sit on the grass, or you put your hand on a tree, and you're connected to the planet. And the negative ions come rushing into the body, and you get to the point where there's give and take between us and the planet. When you look at a tree and you realize its roots are actually interconnected with the tree nearby, with the bushes, even with mushrooms, you get underground this whole interconnected highway of energy and nutrients flowing from one to the other, where the different trees are collecting the energy from the sun, taking it underground, giving it to trees that are weaker or young trees that are just starting to grow. And that's why grounding is so important in this day and age. Find some time to take off your shoes, and if it's too cold or snowy, just go and lean on a tree, because you get these negative ions from the planet. It nourishes us. We get rid of unneeded energy like an exhaust pipe. It's simple and it's so incredible.
I really like what he's talking about here, my friends, in regards to the exhaust pipe, right? It allows us to release our positively charged ions at the end of the day into the ground, right? And it also allows us to uptake the negatively charged ions. So again, my friends, nature is there, and even Dr. Bush talks about nature being like a Faraday cage, right? In regards to EMFs and other, forms of radiation. Again, just an incredible release of electrons, and also what that does for you on the uptake, right? In regards to mental health, emotional health, physical health, and just, again, being connected to our friend nature at the end of the day, right? So many positive things. Grounding is such an important habit that I would highly suggest I ground every single day. I wake up, go outside, listen to Bible and prayer and meditation. And meanwhile, I'm walking around barefoot, right? Getting sun, touching the ground, and just resetting, right? Resetting my, balance, so to speak, in regards to, again, the negatively and positively charged ions, and just from an energetic perspective, right? At the end of the day. So if you have not tried grounding, my friends, or you don't do it consistently, really, really highly suggest that you add this habit into your daily repertoire. Big time. All right, let's go on to this one here.
Something runs in a family does not mean that it's genetic. In fact, the human genome is specifically designed to not pass on disease. You would actually have decreasing populace if the DNA was not excellent at removing mutations and keeping them from passing from generation to generation. It twists our mind to start unwinding some of these fallacies that we have accepted in modern medicine. But getting you to subscribe to the fact that you have a genetically inherited disease makes it very easy to get you to subscribe to a lifetime of medication. And we have built a multi-trillion-dollar industry treating the expression of disease, not fixing the nutrient deficiency. And so we are suffering because we are nutrient deficient, and we are being treated for the outcome of those deficiencies. And if you want to see magic happen in human beings, you give their body the raw material that it needs to do its job. The best modalities harness the power that we have from Mother Nature. They bring it indoors and make it convenient. The best treatments restore our body's ability to protect and heal itself. The most important thing, and I think the most overlooked thing in all of bariatric medicine is...
Well, he doesn't mention it, but my friends, I think that is an incredible perspective, right? To understand that, our genetic code and again, the God-given design in the human body, I should say, does not allow for most genetic mutations to be passed down and to be passed on, right? Our genome does a great job in cleaning things up, right? It's not perfect. And in regards to the complete bombardment of toxins and chemicals and everything in between, I think overall that we've actually done a good job from the body's perspective in passing down genetics. So again, once you believe that that prescription is what's necessary to fix your health issues and your genetics, then my friends, you're in a bad place. So you give the body what it needs so that it can do what it needs to do. That is the fundamental, naturopathy 101. The body is the healer. You give it what it needs, right? And then it will go and do what it needs to do. So again, just a perspective there from Gary in regards to the genetic, genome and cellular memories, which are what genetics are at the end of the day. That I thought was powerful. I thought it was powerful for us to understand that and just, again, see it from that perspective.
Idea that there was medicine inside of soil was radical in my brain. For thousands of years, we've been looking for plants that had medicines in them. So that got us studying soil and conditions and nutrient density in the plants and all that. And that took me on the slippery slope right down into the soil itself. It must be coming from the bacteria and fungi and the system down there. And so I think the most intelligent medical system that we have is actually in the soil.
That perspective, my friends, is huge. Going back to understanding that plants are medicine, right? If plants are medicine, where are they deriving those healing properties from? And it must start in the soil. That is, again, one of the biggest things that we need to do moving forward in the future is making sure of our soil health, right? Yes, the interaction of the sunlight, the water, and the nutrients is what gives plants those healing properties and those medicinal characteristics. But really, they're just being plants, right? Plants are being plants. But where is that, where are those nutrients coming from at the end of the day that our body needs? And actually getting back to Brecca's breakdown as well as disease being a nutrient deficiency, I do believe that it's sort of a two-part piece, right? I believe that we must eliminate all of the waste from the body. And I also believe that we must get the proper nutrition at the end of the day. So whether that is a lack of nutrients in our food, which is absolutely the case, or whether that's the body's inability to break those nutrients down, absorb them, and utilize them, is also, the other part of that aspect. So again, soil health ultimately is what drives your health at the end of the day. So, let's do this one here, my friends, because this is big. This is huge.
The fulfillment of a promise that we made in the Maha report, which we released 2.5 months ago, as 120 recommendations for how to transition, how to eliminate the chronic disease epidemic and transition to a healthier America. And among those promises, among the recommendations of the report, farmers who are dependent on chemical and fertilizer inputs, to give them an off-ramp where they can transition to a model that emphasizes soil health, and with soil health comes nutrient density. Without coercion, through voluntary action, to give them good incentives to do well by doing good for themselves, for our children, and for the country. I'm very, very happy to have as a partner in this endeavor Brooke Rollins. I've been working on farm issues for 30 years. And this is the first USDA secretary who I believe is really committed to giving us, we already have the healthiest food supply in the world, to making a food supply that's even healthier, that's going to sustain, again, a transition to a much healthier America for our children. I also want to thank these farmers who are inspiring. and they're inspiring to the farm community, to all of us who care about good health, about sustainability on the farm, about water retention, about soil retention, about the health of farmers themselves who are concerned about the health of their children from too many chemicals on the land. And they provided us models for how to do this and how to do it in a way that vertically integrates, that preserves profit margins, and that dramatically reduces inputs.
My friends, this to me is huge, right? This is massive, because we must begin to, again, rejuvenate, re-energize, revitalize the soil of which our food is grown. And if we are going to make progress in the future moving forward, then we have to take care of the health of our soil. And again, so many farmers were essentially duped into believing, that they need these GMO seeds and GMO crops and all that kind of a thing. And it really put the health of the world into a compromised position at the end of the day. So these kinds of initiatives, these kinds of changes are so massive and have such a ripple effect in a positive way that, it's not always immediate, right? This is going to take some time, but this is a major step in the right direction, especially for the long term. We have to change the way our food is grown. We have to change the health of the soil in which our food is grown. And again, the thing that stands out to me is the soil nutrients of 100 years ago, right? We have range of 10 to 40% of the nutrients in our soil that were once in our soil 100 years ago. So again, we talk about nutrient deficiencies, we talk about chemicals and pesticides and these, unknown diseases, right? Where, we haven't been able to identify where they come from, how they're created, yada, yada. And to me, it's a blatantly obvious dynamic of the health of our soil and the chemicals and pesticides that are being sprayed on our soil as well. So, it's good to see. That's really good to see. So, let's do this one here, my friends. My friends, I want to bring awareness to, again, the geoengineering and the spraying in the skies. 2, 3, 5, 10 years ago, this was all a massive conspiracy, right? But we all know now that is just the truth, the reality of what's taking place. Today, actually, you can probably see it in the reflection. There is absolutely no spraying whatsoever going on today. Even though our state banned, spraying geoengineering in the sky, there are countless days where it looks like a tic-tac-toe board up there in the sky. And the level of, again, harm that is causing to the soil, the food, our health is, in my opinion, astronomical. It's massive. And so, again, we just keep our finger on the pulse. We continue to push these positive initiatives, and, less is more at the end of the day. But if you look up and you see a bunch of spraying, do whatever you can to help your state or Congress eliminate that. And again, I'm not super versed. I'm not acting like I know how to do that. In fact, I'm kind of leaning on you guys to help out in regards to making sure that this is truly eliminated, because it's damaging your health. It's damaging, again, our plants, our soil, our crops, and there is no purpose. There is no purpose for spraying metals in the sky, right? That there's no benefit there. So if human health is compromised in these activities, then I believe these activities need to end, or they need to be banned, or they need to change. So again, just bringing awareness to it. And it's good to see that people are waking up and looking up and identifying problematic areas, again, in the environment and with their health. But this isn't something that is, mysterious. This isn't something that is unproven, so to speak. And I think it's a major deal, just like the health of our soil. It connects right to that. And it's, again, a major step that we need to take for the long-term health of humanity across the board. So wanted to bring that to your awareness here, my friends.
Los mercados, ellos también nos han dañado. No solamente a ustedes, a nosotros también nos han filtrado eso. Imagínese ahora, tú puedes comer una cebolla biológica, no hay. Arroz biológico, no hay. Entonces, estas cositas que venden en el campo, a nosotros ya nos inyectan, ya nos lavan el cerebro, han fumigado con herbicida, con pesticida, y ya compramos. Tenemos desconocimiento, estamos ignorantes, decimos, bueno, no importa. En 30 días ya deshace el veneno, pero quedan las moléculas dentro. Entonces, esta es la ignorancia de todos nosotros, los seres humanos, estamos muriendo, pero por nuestro error. Somos como los peces, nosotros morimos con nuestra boca, porque por aquí introducimos todos los tóxicos, por la boca.
Massive amounts of wisdom, my friend, from this individual, who is also fully aware of how damaging, again, the pesticides and chemicals that are being sprayed on our food, the damage that it causes not only to the soil, but to our health, but also the absorption from the foods with these chemicals and pesticides. And again, not to mention what's being sprayed up top. And when you have, the ingestion of things that are not food, that are toxic, that are damaging, that are cancer causing, well, it's obviously not going to bring anything positive back for your health. So again, one of the biggest things that I can say, my friends, is to buy organic food, right? Buy organic, non-GMO food. That doesn't always quite mean that there's nothing being sprayed on your organic food. If you can grow your food, you've won the game. But not all of us can. But one major tip, and again, I believe it was last health breakdown that we did, but to use baking soda, right? To use baking soda on all of your fresh produce, fresh fruit, fresh veggies. And again, a tablespoon of baking soda, wash your fruits and your vegetables off, get whatever residue or chemicals are still on that food eliminated. And again, pay attention to EWG's Clean 15, Dirty Dozen dynamic, where again, there's some non-organic food that you would never really want to touch. There are that many pesticides and chemicals on those foods and in those foods. It does get down to the molecular level. So this is why this is so important, my friends. You can do all the right things, but if you're set up in a system that is broken, then you're destined to fail. So getting our head around these things is literally vital to your life and to your longevity. And to me, it seems very simple. It seems very straightforward. There is nothing, super crazy, super complex. This is all straightforward, right in front of your eyes. Can be seen, right? We can pay attention to this kind of thing. Again, everybody used to be able to grow their own food, or not everyone, but large amounts of the population decades and centuries ago. And we've just seemed to have forgotten the most basic skill sets of survival and of life. And if we aren't paying attention to them, right, it's, cool if we want to outsource and delegate and scales of economy. Great. I think that there's a lot of really positive things around that dynamic and around the evolution of that. But if we are not paying attention to what is actually in our food and what is actually in our soil and what is in our sky and what is in our water and what is in our products that we're using and putting on our skin, you're going to fail. You're going to fail, my friends. It's not, I believe that this health game is simple, but it's certainly not easy. And we have many hundreds, dozens, right? Dozens, hundreds, maybe thousands, right? There are thousands of neurotoxins at this point. That there are many things that we have to pay attention to. And again, clean in equals clean out. And I like what he said about the fish dynamic, right? Like the fish, right? Let me see. I'm going to rewind that because I really like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Nosotros morimos con nuestra boca, porque por aquí introducimos todos
our mouth is where we introduce all these toxins to our body. Spot on. That's 100% accurate. So again, wisdom, my friends. And I was saying this to my son today. We were in the car, and I said, he's 11, and I said, buddy, one of the most powerful pieces of wisdom that we can relay is how to take care of your health. And there was a situation that somebody had brain surgery, right? And maybe that was necessary, maybe it was not, but they had a cyst in their brain. Okay. And I said, buddy, this is where you just need to really understand how to take care of your health, right? Because what happens when your son has an issue, or when your son has a problem, a health problem, and you say, I don't know what to do, I have to run to the doctor. I said, well, you're setting yourself up for a little bit of liability, because what if that doctor says, oh yeah, absolutely, we have to cut this out or cut this off, when in reality, you may have not needed to do that. And it was just, this is what I am striving for, my friends. This is what I am trying to create within my own family unit, is that health and wellness wisdom, right? Through naturopathy, through using nature in its most basic, minimalist, most fundamental, natural form to, again, not only optimize our health, because I feel like we have to clean out our health and take care of getting rid of things before we can begin to truly optimize. Now, you can optimize along the way. And part of that optimization is detoxification and removing toxins and heavy metals and chemicals and neurotoxins and all of that. So it's a wide game, right? And there are depths to it. But to me, it's very simple. It's just not always easy. So start paying attention, my friends, to all the aspects of the things that you touch or put in your mouth or put on your skin or use, or your environment that you're around. It's really, really important. And to me, the most important thing is our food source. What species would poison their own food? What species would want to ingest poison? That is not the recipe for success. That is not going to produce any kind of a great outcome. And again, we have to really continue to pay attention, high levels of awareness, my friends. Let's continue.
Is considered the new secondhand smoke. I hate these. I can't stress this enough. I know I've made many videos about this, but fragrance is incredibly toxic. It is so toxic for our lungs, for our endocrine systems. Our endocrine systems are our hormones. So it is leading to hormone disruption, thyroid issues, autoimmune disorders, linked to various cancers, infertility. It's a really big problem, guys. So anything that's fragrance, put it back on the shelf. This is bad news. There's so many of these scented bags. It's crazy. Just buy regular trash bags. I understand that you're not going to be able to find these everywhere. I was actually even shocked to find these here. If you can find compostable kitchen bags, awesome. These are also not scented and they break down over time. Oh man, take that in.
Yeah, my friends. So this is, again, part of that neurotoxic dynamic. And when we are using products that are filled with or contain neurotoxins, they damage your endocrine system. They damage your neurological system. They damage your reproductive system. And so just take a look around you, my friends. Just take a look around you. And again, these are everywhere. They're filling up grocery stores with toxic products. And although it's small and it's minimal, the continuous ingestion or inhalation or use of these products is going to wear you down, right? It's going to wear you down, wear your systems down in the body, going to wear your health down from an overall perspective, macro perspective. And so we just have to make upgrades. We have to know what's going on. We can't play the, oh, that's a conspiracy and oh, that's not real and it's not that harmful. It is, right? It is, especially in large amounts or especially in longer periods of time, over time. And again, this is the same thing with candles, the fragrance in again, garbage bags, soaps, shampoos, all of these kinds of things, my friend. Start to pay attention, start to become aware, and start to understand, again, what is in the products that you're using. This is a mindset change. This is a shift. This is an awareness thing. You're going to need garbage bags, right? Doesn't mean you don't use garbage bags, although that's a whole separate discussion as well, in regards to composting and using things that do actually break down. But from a garbage bag perspective and from a neurotoxic and fragrance perspective, we have to eliminate these things from our products, from our homes, and from using them or putting them on our skins. Super simple.
Know about air quality indoors, outdoors?
Air quality indoors can be up to 5 times worse than air quality outside, which shocks a lot of people. That stat comes from the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. The reason being is that people are not adequately ventilating their homes. And we're doing things like cooking. Cooking generates particulate matter too. But do we need to stop cooking? No. But we need to prioritize what's important and what's not important. Burning candles, how important is that to you? Make sure you're choosing a better candle. Make sure you're opening the windows. Indoor air is absolutely imperative if you want to improve your health. You have to clean up your indoor air.
Keep my shoes at the door.
This shocks a lot of people, but there are simple ways to improve your indoor air quality, and one of them is taking off your shoes. Not wearing your outside shoes in your home. That doesn't mean you have to go barefoot. You can wear slippers, you can wear other shoes that are specifically meant to stay indoors. And that's because shoe soles are vectors for fecal material, poop, pathogenic bacteria and viruses, heavy metals, industrial chemicals, pesticides. Things that are outside should stay outside.
But didn't we used to live outside as a species?
Right, but when we lived outside, there weren't all these cars and factories that were spewing all of this exhaust all over the place.
Yeah, my friends, we know that the indoor air quality within your home is absolutely more toxic than being out amongst fresh plants and trees and among, forests and just the overall outdoor air quality that is produced, right? When we get trapped in a box, so to speak, right, with no fresh air, right, no oxygenation, so to speak, and fresh air, right? That is so crucial. If you didn't have fresh air outside, well, you would die if there wasn't enough oxygen. But it is important that as we lose the air quality inside, we have to make adjustments. So how do we do that? And we talked about this before. We open our windows. It's always a positive thing. I would not walk around your house with the shoes that you walk around everywhere else that you go. Okay. You're just kind of bringing that back to your home, right? It's not good, right? There's lots of things that are on your shoes, as she's mentioned before. But I believe that you need to implement or input plants within your home, right? You can get, some air purifiers, the Air Doctor. We have the Air Doctor here as well. At my home, it does a great job in purifying the air, but you need fresh air, right? The Air Doctor purifies the air, but it doesn't bring in fresh air. Okay. So that's where plants come into play, as they exchange that air, right? And that's where, opening up your windows. It may be cold, but maybe get a little breeze coming through the door. Or if not, if that's too cold, maybe you live in Wisconsin or somewhere super, super cold, then you're going to need to get plants. So I'm just going to encourage you guys to, and me included, listen, there is no perfection here. This is just another person living life, learning, gaining wisdom through my experiences, right? And so when we have poor air quality in our home, again, this is the conducive environment for not only toxins and mold, but just almost a place for disease, if you will, right? And so, very simply, my friends, make sure that your air or your home is getting fresh air every single day, whether by opening windows, getting an air purifier, or bringing in plants. That is a major, major, major upgrade. And again, continue to look for upgrades throughout your home, my friend. Even paint, like what kind of paint have you used or are you using? All those kinds of things, my friend. So pop over to these last two videos here today, my friends. Hopefully I brought you some value.
Christians have all been taught vaccines are safe, effective, necessary, and are harmless. And each one of those statements is false. Vaccines have never been proven to be safe. They don't keep you from getting sick. You can have the vaccine and high antibody levels and still contract the illness. None of them are necessary. There are millions of unvaccinated kids in this country now that aren't sick. They don't have asthma, allergies, eczema, ADD. They don't use inhalers. They don't have chronic daily medications. And every single vaccine causes a level of harm, even if it's just at a cellular level, changing the epigenetics of that child, changing little things, shaving off a few points of their IQ that you may not know about or be able to recognize until later. Vaccines do all of those things.
You guys know my position on vaccines, and this is why I get outraged and fired up, because again, our children have just become lab rats for something that is literally harmful. It's not proven to be safe, and what we're finding out is essentially backed by absolutely no science. And this is the individual that I spoke about before, Dr. Tenpenny. Again, her and Peter McCullough are probably the top two, and probably Dr. Malone as well. But her and Peter McCullough are, in my opinion, in my perspective, the two most well-versed, knowledgeable, wise, and educated people on vaccines, and they do not support. They do not support. And so this is, again, getting back to the conversation that I had with my son earlier today, in regards to health wisdom, right? What decisions are you making? What decisions are you making for your children? And this kind of wisdom needs to be passed down through generations, my friends, because if not, then we open up ourselves to risk, susceptibility, and possibly the inability to correct, right? Yeah. So again, continue to do your research, my friends, and really, really, really consider the whole dynamic of how we were created, our immune system, and the unbelievable harm and side effects that vaccines cause and continue to cause. And yeah, we'll end it up right here, my friends.
Why do we need the 1986 Act if vaccines are so safe too? Why does a product need immunity if it doesn't cause harm?
Yep.
And why does products that have been on the market for why do products that have been on the market for decades, like the hepatitis B vaccine, still need that immunity? Do we still not know they're safe enough to lift the immunity on those products? Look, drug products that have very limited markets, tiny markets, that are given to very few people that have really bad adverse event profiles can still be sold profitably. Why? Pharma companies typically need to do two things. Number one, they need to make the product as safe as technologically feasible. And by doing so, they avoid design defect claims, which is the primary way you hold a company accountable for harms from their product. The type of claim you can never bring for a childhood vaccine. The second way is they disclose the risks that product can cause, and hence they avoid failure to warn claims. Those are the two primary claims that would be levied against a pharmaceutical company. I do not understand, well, I shouldn't say that. It's not true. There's probably a reason that this immunity still needs to continue for these products. And pretending that that reason doesn't exist is not going to make the problem any better, and it's not going to safeguard the kids that are injured by these products.
My friends, that is, again, that's Aaron Siri, and he is an attorney, and he's on the good side. Let's just put it like that. Trying to defend, the harm that was done to individuals, and really to go against the whole vaccine and pharma dynamic. I support everything this guy does. I think he's on point. And again, so you have, let's just go back here.
They need to make the product as safe as technologically feasible. And by doing so, they avoid design defect claims, which is the primary way you hold a company accountable for harms from their product.
So avoiding design defect claims, right?
The type of claim you can never bring for a childhood vaccine. The second way is they disclose the risks.
And disclosing the risks so that hey, if you get this, we told you about it. Hey, sorry, but you can't sue us. So again, there is, well, I won't make claims that I don't know about, but I don't know of any other product that is sold out there that you can't sue the manufacturer for harm and for damages, except for vaccines. And now they're trying to do this with the, pesticide and chemical dynamic. Super, super, super interesting why these two things that actually do cause harm and damage need to be protected, right? That should literally tell you just about everything that you need to know. Again, this is not rocket science. This is straightforward, my friends. This is blatantly obvious in front of your eyes, and you get to make the decision. You get to use discernment. You get to use your awareness and your intelligence and your wisdom and your intuition to understand, is this going to help me? Is this going to harm me? And if something is so helpful and beneficial, and these products have been out on the market, you would think by now that, of course, they're safe and there's no harmful negative side effects, but that's just not true. So again, that liability protection is there to protect them from being sued for doing harm. But that doesn't happen if there is a product that is actually safe and effective, right? If it works, it works. If an herb has one damaging claim, it's yanked off the market immediately. No questions asked, right? Just like that. But these products literally have liability protection. That would be obvious to anyone that they're really not that safe. So, my friends, hopefully you found this valuable. Hopefully you, again, are starting to understand the simplicity around health and wellness. And again, optimizing your health, maximizing your longevity. Those are really my two goals, and living disease-free. So this is paying attention to your surroundings, to your environment, to the things that you use, to your daily habits, and, making the upgrades, my friends, making the upgrades. This is a game that you will have to play forever, and that's just what it is, but it shouldn't be overwhelming. It shouldn't be burdensome. It shouldn't be super difficult. And again, in our community, People of Health, we talk about this, we go deep, and we go wide. So if you would like to elevate your wisdom and your knowledge around naturopathy and natural health and holistic wellness, feel free to join the community, school.com/POH for People of Health. And if not, that's cool too. I just want you to win. I just want you to be healthy. I want you and your family to be healthy. And I don't want you to be in a position where you're puzzled as to why your health is where it's at or why it's not improving. And, to equip you with the tools and the wisdom of what you need to do in order to, again, get cleaned up, right? We all need to maintain that cleaning up action, aka that detoxification action, which is just the body cleaning, right? It's the body cleaning and repairing and promoting elimination. So what you put into your mouth, how well you sleep, how well you move around and exercise, how often you get out into the sun or in nature are all extremely important. And again, we must eliminate all of the toxicity that is bombarding our world, our society, our products, our home, our food, our skies, our water. Literally, that is the fight. And so, my friends, I love you. God bless. And I'll talk to you soon.